Hey guys, Carl197 again. This time the review of the 144 scale high-grade Universal Century Gundam Mark II Titans version from the Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam series. For colors, we get the typical badass Titans color scheme. We have a lot of dark blue all over the body. We have pitch black for the chest, skirt armor, bottom of the feet, the backpack. Then we have red for the cockpit, the chin, the forehead jewel. Then an orangey yellow for the chest fence, collar, V-fin, and all of those little thrusters on his legs, his shoulders. And finally, we have purplish gray for all of the joints, the hands, and also for the weapons. On to the stickers. We get a few of them, but all of them are metallic green ones for sensors or cameras, and even two different options for the eyes. We get the normal standard issue eye stickers, or for the eyes, we actually get a green part, translucent green part, and for that, if you only want to use the green part, we get two metallic stickers to put behind the eyes to give them somewhat of a shine. It's not that easy to pick up on camera, it's a bit easier in real life, but it's a great option that we're getting, and especially if you want to mod or something and put an LED light in there, that's a really cool option to have. Then onto the other metallic green stickers we're getting. One for each of the sensors on the body, one for the main camera, one for the back camera, and one for each of the scopes of the weapons. Even on his earmuff Vulcans, we get that sticker. So that is some really cool attention to detail for the stickers. And because it's the Mark II, we of course also get the number stickers. 1 to 3, big ones for the shoulder, smaller one for on his knees, and then the smallest ones go on his back skirt. So compared to the old Gundam Mark II, it's already a pretty big improvement. Now also something that's slightly different is the color scheme. The colors on the newer one are in general darker than those on the old one. The one exception is that the gray, well, the purplish gray here is slightly lighter than that of the old one. Another big difference is the way they are molded and the way seam lines are handled. On this kit, you practically don't see any seam lines at all because they are all perfectly hidden. I mean, you look at the arm, the seam line is in a panel line right there. Seam lines here go perfectly around the thing, whereas with the old one, seam lines are perfectly in the middle of the parts, in the middle of the arm, middle of the leg, middle of the upper leg. So really, we're already off to a great start with this new machine. Another big improvement is of course going to be articulation. The head goes really far upwards, but unfortunately has a tendency to easily pop up because as you can see, no polycap there and no polycap here. So that is a bit of an annoyance. So there's a double joint, the neck itself will hinge upwards, and then the head is on that ball joint. We'll also rotate around and pop off once again. Arms rotate around on that ball joint, will wiggle around, go a bit forwards, bit backwards once again on that ball joint, and then with this hinge right there, go up a bit with the ball joint, and then the arm itself will go nicely like that. So that's a nice range of movement. We'll rotate around, bend at the elbow at 2 joints. Hands are on ball joints. We'll wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. Then the backpack, thrusters are on ball joints, but have a technically limited range of movement because those hoses right there are molded out of pure plastic. But if you kinda pull out those things, we can just disregard those and bend them all the way down. Unfortunately, they're pure plastic and they're not made out of a wire or mesh like with the master grades, but so be it. And the waist, the body itself will bend forward, and then the waist is on a ball joint, giving you a nice forwards movement, backwards really far as well, And then we'll of course wiggle around on the ball joint, then turn around all the way. There we go. Front skirts, as always, molded together, can be separated. Kick forwards, backwards, go out very far. Rotate around all the way. Bend at the knee at once again 2 joints for a nice bend. Then because it's the Mark II, they really took advantage of that joint right there. So it's on a hinge at the top and then a ball joint at the bottom. So for some really good ankle movement, side to side a bit, rotates around all the way. And of course the ankle guard also moves up and down. All of that meaning that articulation is definitely above standard on this machine. And I was especially pleased to see that ankle movement really incorporating the design of the Gundam Mark II itself. It's something we often see in master grades, but not always in a high grade, so that was definitely a nice surprise about this machine. Moving on with the accessories it comes with, nothing too surprising here. We get all the regular accessories you'd expect from the Gundam Mark II, starting off with what's already on the machine, the beam sabers, taking them off. The big advantage this thing of course has over the old Gundam Mark II is that now we are finally getting regular beams. And fortunately, they even give us the longer new style beams. Everything fits into the hands absolutely perfectly. And it's good to see that on a high-grade Gundam Mark II. Next up is ranged weapons, starting off with the standard issue beam rifle. But it might not be as standard as you'd expect, as for what it is, it has some pretty cool features. Starting off, of course, we have a movable handle, but something the manual doesn't tell you, and also something we don't get with it, if you have a master grade beam saber, you can actually put it in there as a beam effect part. And let me tell you, it looks pretty damn nice. Another feature that the manual does tell you about is if you do not want to use it, you can click it onto the side skirt. Something that the old high grade was not able to do, but the master grade was able to do. So now let's use it. Simply pop off the hand, take it apart, and it fits into the hand absolutely perfectly. Now the one downside is that, as you might notice, the trigger guard is not molded in order to fit with the All Gundam Project hands. So that is a bit give and take. The positive side here is that it fits absolutely perfectly, meaning because it uses those All Gundam Project hands, it will also go into the left hand, no problem whatsoever. So it's a bit give and take. On the negative side, the trigger guard is definitely missing. On the positive side, you do get better compatibility. Then, the next weapon we're getting, of course, the bazooka. Movable handle. You can also store it on the back. Simply pull this down, clicks on there, and it is in there very securely. Simply push it like that, and that bazooka is not going anywhere. It's a very solid design. And then you can simply put it into the other hand. There we go. Now we're already to the final weapon, the earmuff Vulcans. Simply slide them around and then click him on his face. So not only can he hold all of his weapons at the same time, he can also store all of them on the machine itself. And that is a feature that's always really cool to see from a model kit. And in case anyone is wondering, you can technically store the bazooka on the side skirt because, as you can see, same kind of connection as the beam rifle. I guess it also means you could saw this thing off and use it as a spare ammo clip. But unfortunately, this is not removable from the bazooka. But moving on to the final accessory we're getting, the shield. And it's somewhat of a movable shield because, well, with the Mark II, you can take it apart and then reassemble it in stored mode. Slide in there we go. And now the cool thing about this is the way it's put onto the arm. We actually get two different connectors one to put it like that, and then one to put it around the arm. And I think it's a pretty cool design choice to give it to us like that, because now it always looks sleek. You don't have some random peg sticking out of your, out of your military machine like a toy. And that is something they used to do with the older Master Grades. I know that at the very least, the Jim Kai also came with a similar system, to make things look a bit more flush without having random parts sticking out. So that's a really cool thing as well. It goes without saying that because this is a Gundam Mark II, the last question is it compatible with the G Defensor? Absolutely. Once you remove this very well hidden panel, it will reveal a hole for the G Defensor. One thing, it's not a polycap, so just be careful not to change it too much into the Super Titans Gundam. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Yes, but now, if we're only looking at this model kit alone, then yes, 1,500 yen is a good solid deal for what we're getting. Great articulation, great engineering, and all the accessories you'd expect from a 1/144 scale high-grade Gundam Mark II. So if you like the Gundam Mark II, then this is definitely a kit you'd want to pick up. Now, we get to the but, because this isn't the only Gundam Mark II kit out there, and there are other options you might want to consider instead of this one. Starting off with the old one. Now, before we go on, yes, objectively speaking, the newer one is better in every single aspect. Better articulation, better engineering, accessories are about the same, but you get the point. It is pretty much superior in every single way. Except the proportions are pretty damn different. And this guy feels more anime accurate. If you want the newer one, you get a bit more of a stylized view, a bit more modernized, because for some reason in modern model kits, especially in Robot Damashis as well, they really like those bulkier calves and then the smaller feet. Whereas this guy is a bit more streamlined all over the thing, with bigger feet, thinner legs, and it also feels a bit more like the Master Grade 2.0. So maybe you just prefer the proportions of the older one. And there's yet another reason why you might want to pick up the older one instead of the newer one. Compatibility with the advance of Zeta machines. Because the newer one is compatible with the All Gundam project, it isn't compatible with the advance of Zeta machines at all. Not the backpack, not the joints, absolutely nothing. And let me tell you, it's pretty damn fun to play around with the advance of Zeta machines. So that's once again another reason why you might want to consider getting the older one, which is 500 yens cheaper. Another thing is, well, we also have the fantastic real grade, and while it might not be too fair to compare a high grade to a real grade, but this one's 1,000 yen, 1,500 yen, 2,500 yen, you might want to save up. Another thing I feel with the proportions is that this guy kind of feels like it's in some kind of proportion purgatory, because the older one is the more anime accurate one. This one is the very mechanical, all-out detailed one. And then this one is somewhere in between. Also, its head seems to be even smaller than that of the real grade one. And just to give my personal opinion here, proportion-wise, I would say that this guy unfortunately is my least favorite proportion-wise of all the Gundam Mark IIs I've built. Granted that I haven't built the Master Grade 1.0, but there's a reason why I haven't picked that one up. So that one would definitely be my least favorite if I got that, meaning that this would take the second place. So that was just some food for thought if you're going to buy yourself a Gundam Mark II. The bottom line is, if you like the proportions of this machine, then you're absolutely going to love it. And then finally, for some size comparisons, here is next to the Gym 2 and the Hyzak. Then for some more of Jared's machines, we have the Marasai and the Gapsley. And you can see that, well, by the end of the Grips conflict, the Gundam Mark II was being a bit overshadowed by those other big machines. And finally, here is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And that's all for this review, and see you guys next time.